Okay, so get ready to dive into some pretty radical ideas about, well, not being so radical.
Intriguing.
Yeah, we're tackling this piece today called Against Revolution.
Oh, interesting title.
Yeah, and it's going to challenge a lot of assumptions about how we think about, change, progress, all that.
Yeah, I mean, revolution, that's a loaded word.
Totally. And this text, it goes all in on saying that revolution, it's not just a bad idea, it's like morally wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty intense, right? And one of the first things it does is like it pins revolution as this primarily left-wing thing.
Huh, okay, I'm curious.
Yeah, so how does that even work? Like, isn't the urge to overthrow the system kind of universal?
Well, the text, it argues that the left, they're all about progress, right? Like constant change, always pushing
Right,
forward.
breaking free from the chains of the past, all that.
Exactly. And the past, well, to them, it's like this source of problems holding us back.
So tradition is the enemy.
In a way, yeah. It's seen as outdated, oppressive, stuff we need to get rid of to move forward.
Okay, so revolution, in this view, it's like the ultimate tool to smash the old and bring in the new, shiny future.
Right. And the text even connects this to like the whole concept of liberalism.
Really?
Yeah, it says that the left's emphasis on individual liberty, questioning authority, all that, it kind of naturally leads to wanting to upend the existing power structures.
Interesting. So in this view, liberalism is inherently like suspicious of the past and super eager to embrace whatever's new.
Exactly.
Okay, I get that side of it. But what about the other side? Like, how does the text say the right views change in revolution?
Well, it portrays the right as acknowledging that societies change, like it's inevitable,
Right.
but they think that change should be gradual, more like an evolution,
Right.
preserving what's valuable from the past instead of just wiping the slate clean.
Hmm. So less explosion, more like careful tending of the garden.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like for the right, change should have a purpose.
Right.
It should strengthen what's already there, not tear it down and start over.
So they might agree that some things need fixing, but they want to work within the system, not against it.
Precisely. And this whole idea of respecting authority, it ties into that.
Okay, yeah. Because revolutions are all about challenging authority, right?
Right, exactly. And the text argues that the right, even if they're critical of those in power, they still see the existing structures as, like, legitimate.
Mm.
There's a respect for hierarchy, this idea that those in authority, they've earned their place, at least to some extent.
It's like even if you don't always agree with your parents, you still respect their position in the family.
That's a good analogy. It's about working from within to make things better, not just rebelling for the sake of rebelling.
So working with the system, not against it. But this text, it doesn't just disagree with revolution. It calls it like straight up immoral.
Yeah, that's a strong word.
Why so harsh? What's the rationale there?
Well, it sees revolution as this complete rejection of everything that came before.
Like a total break from the path.
Yeah, and it argues that that's dangerous because you're essentially saying, we know better now, so let's just disregard all of history.
Right, but doesn't that create a really shaky foundation for the future?
Exactly. You're building on this arrogant assumption that the present moment has all the answers, and that can lead to some pretty unpredictable outcomes.
It's like trying to build a house on sand,
Good analogy.
It's just not going to be stable.
Mm.
So, okay, we get the anti-revolution stance, but then the text throws this curveball, the idea of a revolution from the top.
Ah, yes. This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what? So this concept, it's attributed to this guy, Julius Evola, and it basically says that rapid change can be okay, even good, if it's initiated by the people already in power.
Exactly.
So instead of a chaotic uprising, it's more like a controlled, a controlled domination.
Yes. It's like a top-down transformation where the existing power structure uses its authority to implement changes quickly and decisively.
Instead of being forced to react to pressure from the bottom up.
Precisely. And it ties back to that whole idea of respecting hierarchy, right?
Right. So it's like, sure, we'll change things, but we're the ones in charge here.
Yeah, and the text seems to argue that this approach, it's actually more stable and less disruptive in the long run.
That's a really different way of looking at it.
It definitely challenges the traditional image of revolution, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So to sum it all up, this text argues that revolution is not just impractical, it's morally wrong. And it sees this as a primarily left-wing tendency.
Right. And it contrasts that with the right's emphasis on working within the system, respecting authority, and preserving what's valuable from the past.
Yeah, and even though it condemns revolution in general, it presents this intriguing exception with the revolution from the top.
Right, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, rapid change can work if it's guided by a strong and legitimate authority.
So this has been a wild ride. So much to unpack here. But here's a final thought to chew on. If we accept the idea that resolution is inherently flawed, does that mean all progress has to be slow and incremental?
Hmm.
Or are there other ways to shake things up and create positive change without resorting to a full-blown revolution? What do you think?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think the text leaves us with a lot to ponder on that front.
Yeah, definitely a lot to think about.
Absolutely.